Nobody warned you about this kind of tired. Not the tired that sleep fixes. The tired that settles into your bones somewhere in your early 40s and never leaves. Your parents got to coast in midlife. By 45, they were slowing down. The mortgage was almost paid. The career had plateaued. The weekends were for golf or gardening or whatever 45 looked like when the economy was built for people like them. But you got something different. You got the sandwich, and the sandwich has no brakes. You are the generation squeezed between two worlds. Your parents need help navigating a healthcare system that was outdated before they retired. Your children need help navigating a housing market that is structurally impossible. And you, in the middle, are the translator, the bank, the emotional support animal, the crisis manager, and the person who still has to show up at work tomorrow and pretend you slept. A Federal Reserve study found that Gen X households have 18% less wealth than their parents had at the same age, despite being more educated and working longer hours. You did everything right. You played by the rules. And the game changed. That is not just a financial fact. That is a psychological weight you carry every moment of every day. What makes this exhaustion different from normal tiredness is its structure. It is not one big thing. It is 1,000 small things, each one manageable alone, but together they form a weight that does not lift. The research calls this role overload. A study published in the Journal of Marriage and Family found that the sandwich generation phenomenon peaks for people born between 1965 and 1980. You are managing your mother's doctor appointments during your lunch break and helping your daughter update her resume after dinner. You are researching memory care facilities and co-signing student loans in the same week. You are the IT department for your parents and the emergency fund for your children. And somewhere in between, you are supposed to find time for yourself. Every day, you are making high-stakes decisions for multiple generations. Should dad stop driving? Can we afford the tuition? Is mom's forgetfulness normal or something worse? This constant decision-making depletes something psychologists call executive function, your brain's capacity to plan, focus, and juggle. It is a finite resource, and you are draining it before you even start your actual job. Research from Yale shows that sustained chronic stress shrinks the prefrontal cortex while enlarging the amygdala. Your ability to think clearly decreases while your anxiety increases. You are literally becoming less capable of handling the exact situation that is overwhelming you. And you are so busy handling everything that you have not noticed the machinery breaking down. You entered the workforce at a time when company loyalty still meant something. You were told that hard work would be rewarded. Then you watched the pension system collapse. You survived multiple recessions, endless restructurings, and the complete rewriting of the social contract. You adapted. You learned new skills. You became whatever the company needed. And now you are middle management, old enough to remember how things used to work, young enough that retirement is decades away. You are translating between executives who think everyone should just work harder and younger employees who demand boundaries you never had. You are the buffer, and buffers absorb everything. You did not grow up with a smartphone. You remember what it felt like to truly disconnect. But you adopted the technology during your peak career-building years, which means you never learned to set the boundaries your children are now demanding. You answer emails at 11 p.m. because you remember when not being available meant you were not committed. Your brain never fully shuts off because the technology that was supposed to make work easier just made it endless. And here is the cruel part. The exhaustion has no dramatic breaking point. It does not announce itself with a crash. It is a gradual dimming, like someone slowly turning down your energy levels. You barely notice until one day you realize you cannot remember the last time you felt actually rested. Tired has become your baseline. And here is the part that nobody talks about. You are too young to fully relate to your parents' world of decline and medication schedules and the slow narrowing of life. But you are too old to fully enter your children's world of TikTok and burnout culture and new rules that you did not grow up with. You exist in a strange middle space where you are supposed to have all the answers, but you are just as confused and overwhelmed as everyone else. You just hide it better. Because that is what your generation does. The American Psychological Association found that workers aged 40 to 55 report the highest workplace stress of any group, higher than both younger and older colleagues. You are the generation that gets it from both sides. You cannot afford to slow down, but you are running on a system that was never designed for this load. Your body has been keeping score. Gen X has higher rates of metabolic syndrome, cardiovascular issues, and autoimmune conditions than previous generations at the same age. That is not bad genetics. That is decades of running on stress hormones with no real recovery. Your body has been in fight or flight mode for so long that it has forgotten what safety feels like. You look fine. You show up. You get things done. Nobody sees the constant calculation you are doing, the weight you are carrying, the exhaustion you are masking. Society sees a functional adult and assumes everything is manageable. But the body knows. It has been keeping a ledger that you have never looked at, and midlife is when the interest comes due. But here is what the research does not tell you. The exhaustion you feel is not a sign that you are weak. It is a sign that you have been succeeding at something unsustainable. You were built to be self-sufficient, and then handed a world that requires an entire support system to navigate. That is not a character flaw. That is a structural contradiction. And recognizing it is not giving up. It is the first honest thing you have done in years. The most radical thing you can do in midlife is not to push harder. It is to finally say, out loud, to someone who can hear it, I cannot do this alone, and you were never supposed to. Nobody warned you that midlife would not feel like a crisis. It would feel like being tired all the time. But here is the thing about exhaustion that nobody tells you. It is not the opposite of strength. It is the evidence that you have been strong for too long. And stopping, admitting that the load is too much, is not breaking. It is the first moment in 40 years that you have told the truth. You were not built to carry this alone. No one was. And the tiredness you feel is not your failure. It is your body finally asking the question you have been avoiding, when do I get to rest?